Support this podcast via our Patreon and get more writerly goodness. Visit patreon.com/nanocast to join up.
Welcome to NaNoWriMo Every Month. My name is J. Daniel Sawyer. I'm the author of some 20 books, 34 short stories, and numerous articles and other things, and I am your guide on this journey to use NaNoWriMo to level up to professional output levels. Welcome to The Questions, Episode 32. JR asks, "Help! I've finished book 1 and I'm having trouble getting the sequel off the ground. I'm under contract for a trilogy and want to get it right, but staring at a newly blank document leaves me confused as to where to go." Oh, JR, I so feel for you on this one. I've been there. I've hated that. Granted, I've been under contract to myself, but I'm a real asshole as a boss, so, I totally sympathize, and my business partner is not much better. She is merciless when I am behind on my deadlines. So, you're looking to find your sequel, and I'm guessing from the way that you phrased your question that when you wrote this thing, you didn't really have a plan for sequels. And the reason is that if you did have a plan for sequels, finding the best place to start is just a matter of picking a character, putting them in a situation, and then having that situation link up to the story that you want to tell somehow within the first few pages, or few chapters, depending on how Tolkien-esque you're thinking of becoming. But if you're starting sort of de novo from a book 1 that had kind of an open ending, but you didn't really have any idea where to go, there are a couple of good tricks I could recommend. One of them is to go back as a reader and read your previous book. Don't even do it in manuscript format. If you've got a bound copy of the book with you, read that. If you don't, convert the manuscript to an ebook and read it on your e-reader. Get it away from the computer screen and into a consumable format. Sit down with your book and a notebook and a pen. And by notebook, I mean actual paper, not a notebook computer. And read your book as if you're the audience. Then, as you go through, make a list of the unanswered questions, the promising details, the noodle incidents. Noodle incidents are where your characters refer to something that happened off screen in a sort of provocative way, but they never explain what was going on. In Gail Carriger's Soulless, there is something that everyone keeps referring to as the hedgehog incident, or the matter of the hedgehog, which evidently was foundational to creating the relationship of animosity between the two main characters that then becomes fuel for the romance. And you find out in book 2 or 3 what the hedgehog incident was. But that's a noodle incident. The term is drawn from Calvin and Hobbes, and I think there's an entry on it in TV Tropes. But keep a diary of the questions that you come up with as a reader, the noodle incidents that intrigue you, the pieces of the character's arc that feel incomplete, the weaknesses in the characters that you did not adequately exploit for dramatic potential and reader suffering on the way through, and the other agendas at play in the story besides the ones of your main character. When you get done going through the book like this, you're going to have a stack of different things that you could use to start your story or to base the whole plot on, particularly when you're looking at the other people's agendas. If it's a fantasy novel, also make a list of the locales that are mentioned but not really explored, even if it's not a fantasy novel. What you want to be doing is looking for corners of the emotional and physical world that your characters inhabit that you have not explored yet, and find an excuse to go explore those. And the excuse is always going to be a problem that your character has. It could be a Maltese Falcon type of thing where they're searching for a treasure or fighting over a treasure. It could be interpersonal conflict. It could be a secondary character has a child whose turn it is to come of age. It could be anything you want. But you are going to have to pick something. That's where I would go to look for the grounding for ideas. Now, of course, the other thing you can do, and this is not exclusive to that first way, you can actually use both of these approaches together, is to immerse yourself in storytelling that is unusual to you, something that's new. If you've never watched, say, The Twilight Zone or The Outer Limits, an anthology show like that, get a few seasons of that show at your fingertips and put them on and let them wash over you, because that's new ideas. It'll be new emotions, new literary territory that you haven't explored yet. And anytime you're exposed to something significantly new, you come up with story ideas. That's part of the job of being a writer. It's a natural side effect of being human. Most people just say, oh, that's a nice idea, and move on. Or they've not trained themselves to recognize when something's a nice idea. And a third possible way is to engage in conversation with intelligent people around you about anything other than the book at hand. You don't want to talk your book to death. What you want to do is get your creative juices flowing. So any kind of learning you can do, conversation, witty banter and repartee. I can't tell you how many good books I've gotten out of bad jokes. Bad jokes are fantastic fuel, because bad jokes generally have underlying them either an offensive kind of wordplay or some kind of really bizarre, stupid, whimsical idea. Well, bizarre, stupid, whimsical ideas make for bad jokes, but they make for fantastic books. Fantastic books. My book, The Automotive, which I mentioned a couple episodes ago, was coming out later this year. That book is based on a bad joke. Turned out to be a true story, but it was told as a bad joke at a party I was at. A guy was talking about a roommate that he had in college, whose car kept getting borrowed at night by a car thief who would then return the car, frequently with a full tank of gas. And he said, his roommate said, oh man, thank God I'm not a woman. I would be terrified to take that car in the morning. And I'm overhearing this, and I'm like, wait, did that really happen? He's like, absolutely swear to God it happened. I couldn't believe it. It really, really did. And I said, I'm stealing that, because that was so obviously the most excellent premise I had ever heard for a young adult book, would be to have a college freshman who's in her first apartment and her car keeps getting stolen, and no one will take her seriously because by the time the cops show up, the car is back in its parking spot. So everyone thinks she's some kind of prima donna. And I used that as the starting point for a book that took me a while to write, but oh my God, is this book fun. So much fun! I can't wait for you guys to read it if you're the kind of people who enjoy young adult coming-of-age fantasy stories set in San Francisco. Turned out to be great, but I got all of that from just this stupid joke that someone was telling at a dinner party. Ideas are all around you, but staring at a blank page makes it feel like there aren't any. So opening yourself up to them forcibly by exposing yourself to new fiction and new research and new situations and deliberately pushing out of your comfort zone so that you can find the things outside your bubble and bring them back into your bubble and put them on the page. That's how you get a sequel off the ground. But I seriously do recommend going back through and rereading that first book as part of this process, because that first book, you want that loaded into your head so that part of your brain is living in that world again, and that will help immensely as well. I hope that helps, JR. Sincerely, good luck with the rest of the trilogy. I hope you kick ass, and I'll see you tomorrow. NaNoWriMo Every Month is written and presented by J. Daniel Sawyer and produced by Artistic Whispers Productions. Visit our website at NaNoWriMoEveryMonth.com and leave a tip in the tip jar or join the Patreon to support this podcast. NaNoWriMo Every Month is copyright 2016 by J. Daniel Sawyer and Artistic Whispers Productions and is released under a Creative Commons Non-Commercial Attribution No Derivatives license.